$300. That I can piss into that glass over there and not spill a single solitary drop. The bartender looks at this glass, and then we're talking about like this glass is like a good 10 feet away. He says, no, wait, let me get this straight. You're trying to tell me you're gonna bet me $300 that you can piss standing over here, way over there, into that glass and not spill.
CPR street gang, this is all fighting.
That's right. Bartender says, young man, you got to bet. The guy goes, okay, here we go. Pulls out his thing. He's looking at the glass, man. He's thinking about the glass. He's thinking about the glass. He's thinking about the glass. Thinking about his dick. Dick glass. Be the glass. Dick glass. And then he lets it rip. And he's pissing all over the place, man. He's pissing on the bar. He's pissing on the stools, on the floor, on the phone, on the bartender. He's pissing everywhere except the fucking glass, right? Okay. So, bartender, he's laughing his fucking ass off. He's $300 richer. He's like, ha 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 ha, just dripping off his face. This is you fucking idiot, man. You got it in everything except the glass. You owe me $300, punta. Excuse me, just one second. Goes in the back of the bar. Back, there's a couple guys playing pool. He walks over to them. Comes back to the bar. Goes, here you go, Mr. Bartender. 3. Like, what the fuck are you so happy about? You just lost $300, idiot. The guy says, well, see those guys over there? I just bet them $500 a piece that I could piss on your bar, piss on your floor, piss on your phone, and piss on you. And not only would you not be mad about it, you'd be happy. $500 a piece.
My name's Jimmy. It's Aftermath FM. Into the Microcosm is on the air.
I'm broke. Anybody else broke? You ever get so broke that the bank starts charging you money for not having enough money? That's fucking broke, man. Bank called me up, they're like, hi, we're calling because you don't have enough money. I'm like, I know. She's like, sir, you have insufficient funds. Well, that's a good way to put it, too. I agree with that. I find my funds to be grossly insufficient. Thanks for calling. Why are you mad at me? I don't understand what. How is this?
Lord have mercy.
Well, we're going to be talking about what's going on across America and across the world tonight because it seems together people are coming. They're coming together, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about it.
Listen. Listen. I'm working 40 hours, 6 long days. And I'm highly embarrassed every time I get my pay. And they're working everybody. Lord, they're working poor folks to death. And when you pay your rent and your car note, you ain't got a damn thing left. Ain't that a bitch? Yes, it is. Somebody doing something slick.
Because he missed the scenery, the native dancers, and the charming songs. But wait a minute, something's wrong. Hey, hey, now it's a mambo, mambo.
Hey, Goomba. I love it.
Yeah, Gumba.
What you doing over there, man? Hang on a second. Bridget, she won't go back in the box. And on some level, I don't want her to. All right. Nice to see you, Bridget. Nice to see you, Rock and Real. How you doing, man? How you feeling? What's going on in New York City? Tell us real quick before we go. We got a lot of people here tonight. We got a lot to get to tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because it looks like people are coming together. The unions, looks like they went from limp to semi-rigid overnight. We talked about Lefquenza last night and the solidarity movement, and it looks like there's some solidarity that's happening across the nation, around the world. And let me just say, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Chicago. We're going to talk a little bit about these police unions. They're coming together. A lot of police are saying no. You know, enough is enough is what they're saying. Rock and Rio.
Yeah, New York State United Teachers is one of the unions that is pushing back. Surprisingly, here in New York, they've decided that everybody should get it, but making it mandatory is a no-no. It's against their contract, and they won't have it.
There you go.
So,
all right. Well, so this is how we come together. Bruce Macdonald, are you there? I know I caught you off guard there. So what are you thinking now, man? What are you hearing? Is there any union activity that you've heard of up in Canada? Because you and Mike are here tonight. Mike from Conspirazone's here too. Hey, Mike, how you doing? So what's going on in Canada with the unions? Are there any of the unions standing up there that you've heard of?
Yeah, well, quite a few of them actually, and unions you'd never expect, like the Toronto Police Service, a lot of the fire brigades.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, a lot of people are standing up to it, and they're massively underreporting the number of people that are walking off their jobs, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this question. Let me pose this question to everybody, including the audience. So, do you think that they'll bend? Do you think this would be a moment where we feel like we're coming together and we feel like something's happening and we're finally getting some traction, and then they just turn around and go, you know what? We're just going to put in National Guard and all the positions that you people don't want to fill, and we'll bust the unions just like they busted the air traffic controllers unions when Reagan was in office, when they went on strike. The thing is do you find things to be a bit suspicious that specific industries that are being impacted directly are those same ones that also generate a lot of carbon, like airplanes? Oh, well, there's not as many airplanes in the air. Oh, well, we'll just charge you twice as much for that flight because there's not enough people. This kind of thing. Do you guys think that there'll be this, there can be a crushing moment in this moment that we're seeing a little bit of daylight where people are actually coming together just regardless of their differences, but they're coming together like in a solidarity movement like we were talking about last night? Solidarity. The American people.
It seems like it's starting.
It seems like it. I mean, it seems like it. What are you guys thinking over there?
Well, yeah, you can kind of see it happening all over. It's like from what I've seen in the Western world, it's sort of started in France with the Yellow Jacket revolution there, and slowly started spreading throughout the rest of the West, and it's finally, I think, starting to hit here in North America, which is kind of nice to see. And yeah, I was surprised. The Ontario government's really looking at rolling back their mandates. I heard something about Alberta's looking to do the same thing, which is, and it's all because of pressure from certain unions. Like in Ontario, it's like what Bruce was saying is like basically the Toronto Police Services union saying like, yeah, no, we're not looking to have this. And so I think their hospital staff union as well was threatening job action if they were forced to get this vaccine.
Well, I mean, this is, like we've talked about it before, and is that this started with allowing, people to tell you to have to take a piss test, for drugs. Once you allow that, then the next thing is this, and it's like once we allow this, what's next? So it has to be a line in the sand somewhere, and it's clearly look. Look. It doesn't matter what your job is. If you work for a living, then you're a worker, and I don't mean that in the communist sense. Workers. I mean it in the sense that you do a job that you're a cog in this whole machine. Everybody is. Everybody's got their little piece that they do. It's important. Your little chunk, whatever it is, the little thing you do, it's that little piece in the in the another brick in the wall kind of thing. So everybody's got a piece, but the bottom line is, everybody that's working and has a job, somebody's making profit off of your every hour of you put out of your life energy that you have so many life hours on this earth. And you're willing to give up some of that to somebody for some money. And then they, in turn, take what you do and they mark it up. So, we're stuck in this rut because we're constantly got our hand out to somebody to give us a job, pay us some money. We're constantly in this loop. And so, and everybody feels individual by themselves. They're fighting an uphill battle. They're over there in the weeds by themselves, all there, a man in the wilderness, shouting out. Log fell in the forest. There was only one guy there to hear it. But the thing is that once people start realizing and they start talking to each other and they start realizing they start coming together, we're realizing that, hey man, the people that have the power are in the majority. Not the minority. The minority in power is these people that have been deemed elitist. And I, for the life of me, don't understand. I mean, I guess they're elitist in the sense that they have a way to keep and hold their money and keep everybody else out. Look, if you can buy up the competition, there is no competition. Come up with a good idea, man. Everybody's got their price. It doesn't matter. You got free energy machine. Somebody will come up to you with $1 trillion and go, here. Buy this off you for $1 trillion. I mean, everybody's got their price, don't they, Bruce? I mean, if you had a good idea, I mean, if a corporation like one of the big boys just came in with a large sum of money and just look, why go through the hassle? Look here, we'll just give you this money right now, but boom, forget about it, and you can just go on your happy way. That's what everybody does, right? I mean, if anybody came in right now and made up a platform that took out Facebook and YouTube, immediately what would happen is that platform would get bought up. It's like American Spirit cigarettes getting bought up by, Reynolds. What used to be a natural organic tobacco with no additives or da-da-da-da, now all of a sudden, boom. But you never know that it got bought up by that corporation. Like all these juice companies and stuff that started up, Naked Juice and all this, they started up, they were really good. They had a lot of vitamins and minerals in there, and then all of a sudden they get bought up by like PepsiCo. You know what I mean? It's like you can't, these giant corporations have unlimited amounts of money to buy up anything that comes up that's good, that's, maybe nutritious or whatever. And then they change out the ingredients, and, next thing you know, it's not the same sandwich that you used to buy. Got bought up. You know what I'm saying, Bruce? So it's just a matter of profits.
I do.
It's profits, right? So when they changed us over to a service economy and they poisoned people against the unions, it was in their best interest to do so. In other words, so people, okay, so look, the first thing that comes, I see people in the chat over here. So listen, the first thing is unions have dues. Yes, they do. Unions do have dues. All right. I've been in the IBW my whole career. So, and I didn't make a killing. Okay. I made enough money to survive like you should. In other words, the money I was making, you should have been making too, because that's how much the money minimum it takes to live. You cannot live in this America without making a certain amount of money per hour. Unless you do, you're going to be working more than one job, or you're not going to be living how you want to live, or you're going to be living on credit. It's the company store model, man. Listen, I have some really great information to bring to the table that I want people to remember where America has come from, what we've done here. What we've done as a people, what we did, when this, You know, they used to the capitalists used to walk around with these giant hats on their heads, man. These top hats. It's like the top hat, the higher your hat is, the more money that you had. You know what I mean? They'd walk around in these black top coats with these giant top hats, man. These guys, these are the same people that are still holding the money right now. They're holding the money, and now they're telling us, hey, you know what? It's almost like we're like cattle or something, just grazing off in our free range pasture here. You know, we can just free range around, but you know, the farmer's saying we need to go over here and get some vaccines. So, you know, we gotta, you know, yeah, you gotta get over there. So people are saying no, and very well they should. People are saying yes, and that's okay too, right? It's America, right? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? You fight for my right to be free. I fight for your right to be free. Right? We fight for each other. We live for freedom, right? I mean, that's what we've been told. We're the last bastion of freedom in the world still. The White House up on the hill. What do you guys think? Are we the White House up on the hill still? It's looking a little, I mean, it looks like the lights are out in the White House. There's a fence around it. And it doesn't, you know, it's not hitting, man. You know what I'm saying?
Well, judging from the number of people
around it.
Oop, go ahead.
Oh, that was all.
Go ahead, Rio.
Okay. I was going to say, well, judging from the number of people who are still trying to get into the country across the border, this is still a place they want to come. So,
well,
I guess as at the moment, at least, we are still, you know, looking good to a lot of other places.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because this is how, you know, this is how the labor movement started. It started in these big cities. And people got to remember what it was like, that, you know, Ellis Island, and people want to come to America because, you know, here, I got some really great archival footage from something here, and I want to bring it to your attention tonight on the show. It's in the microcosm. Rockin' Rio's here, Bruce McDonald's here, Mike from Conspiracy Zone's here, and Michael from Texas is here also. All right, so stand by. Here we go. Listen to this.
In the old country, I worked like an animal. And even before my children are born, the mark is on them. Animal. Before God, I swear my children will not live as I have lived.
Freedom doesn't come like a bird on the wing, doesn't come down like the summer rain. Freedom, freedom is a hard-won thing. You've got to work for it, fight for it, day and night for it. And every generation got to win it again. Pass it on to your children, mother. Pass it on to your children, brother. You got to work for it, fight for it, day and night for it. Pass it on to your children. Pass it on.
New arrivals scheduled for examination will present themselves with their documents. Find the line matching the letter on your tag.
This is golden America, where millionaires grow on trees like little apples.
The music is dreamy, it's peaches and creamy. Oh, don't let my feet touch the ground.
Best and safest thing to do is to stay at home and help Mother about the house.
12 hours a day. Mama makes 50 cents. I make a dime. Louis makes a nickel.
laying down track for the westbound train, stacking up timber in the state of Maine, digging out coal in the West Virginia hills, hammering steel in the Pittsburgh mills. Immigrants from Austria and Italy, immigrants from Riga on the Baltic Sea, green-eyed Slovaks, blue-eyed Swedes, Irishmen from Limerick, Englishmen from Leeds. Six-day week and a 12-hour day, and it's welcome, boys, to the USA. $1 a day.
6-day week and a 12-hour day. Welcome, boys, to the USA.
A factory hand, and it's welcome, ladies, to the promised land.
Oh, man, here, listen to this.
Immigrants from Austria and Italy, immigrants from Riga on the Baltic Sea, green-eyed Slovaks, blue-eyed Swedes, Irishmen from Limerick, Englishmen from Leeds. Six-day week and a 12-hour day, and it's welcome, boys, to the USA. $1 a day for a factory hand, and it's welcome, ladies, to the promised land.
$1 a day, ladies, for a factory hand. Come on down to the promised land. Come on, man.
I don't know.
Listen,
Could
man.
make a decent living getting on a boat now and going to London to butcher pigs. I'll tell you that.
Well,
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, the thing is like, listen, I think people were bred into this whole situation. I mean, we talk about about genetically modifying humans. It seems to me that there's been a whole working class that's developed around just working. Let's say you work. Okay. Do you think the so-called people that everybody deems the elite, do their kids have paper routes when they grow up? Do their kids go down and get jobs as bus boys and then work their way up to waiters, where you're serving and cleaning up after somebody else? Think about the training that we get over here, and maybe somebody goes to college and here and there, and that's good, and I'm not saying it isn't, but what I am saying is the whole society that our country is built up around exploiting people for their life energy every day for a small pittance, while people make profits off the back of these workers. And then, then there's an attitude, or people cop an attitude when people get together and they say they want to collectively bargain together and say, look, we want to get X amount of dollars. We want to be able to live. But the thing is there's a whole concept about unions that's completely and utterly wrong. Just because you're in a union doesn't mean you don't get fired. I mean, people that aren't in unions, they think that there's this whole thing. Let me dispel the mysteries. Okay, first of all, when you're paying dues, it's almost nothing compared to the dues you pay, compared to the amount of money you're making, compared to other people that are doing exactly the same thing. It's minuscule. It's nothing. And not only that, but the dues that you pay, they're the dues that get you full coverage on healthcare when you go to work. So if I'm in the IBW, when I'm working, the company is paying 100% of my salary rate. No money is coming off my money. My benefits are paid for 100%. Vision, everything, 100%. And every hour I work, $5 an hour goes into my retirement for every hour I work. So just the amount of retirement money that I can generate for myself in a 4-year apprenticeship program where I'm learning how to be an electrician and becoming a journeyman, where you go to college and you want to go get a degree in business so you can be the manager down at Starbucks, the same guy spends 4 years over at the electrical union. He's going to get out. He's going to be making $80-$90 an hour plus all of his benefits. And electricians get $10 an hour for every hour they work that goes into their retirement. So that's $400 a week. That's almost a job that somebody has. That much is going into your bank account for 4 years. At the end of that 4 years, when you break out, you become a journeyman, you're making $80-some an hour. Instead of you being $100,000 in debt to some school system, you got a fat retirement check already sitting there. Just the money's there, you know? And so look, so yeah, that must be wrong somehow. But guess what? In that union that I'm talking about, the one I was in, you don't get any passes. You laze around or whatever, you're fired. You show up late, you're fired. You know what I mean? You don't mess around. These are trade unions, and it's the same way. But government unions and union employee, this type of thing, where you're office employees, this type of thing, is completely different. So the union for the government, the federal government employees union, is completely different than the trade unions to go and build buildings. It's completely different. It's not the same thing. So there's a whole mechanism there. There's a whole stymie system that keeps everything just mucked up. The system's mucked up and keep people from getting fired. So the only people that care about that are the people sitting outside looking at it. If you're the guy in there and they're trying to fire you, you want that whole thing to happen because you don't want to get fired, do you? You know, maybe you didn't do anything. Who knows why they don't get fired? I don't know. It's none of my business. What I'm saying is, though, there's nothing wrong with having that mechanism there to protect you. You know, if you're working at a company and you don't have anybody on your side, and they just corporate thugs come up and they've been doing a sniffing exercise on your time clock, and they pull you into the conference room and they start coming at you, and there's two people there, and on the, human resources and all that. There's nobody there for you. You're just there all by yourself, and that's the thing. Why be by yourself? Everybody here works. If you don't work and you're lucky enough to have enough money where you don't have to do anything, great. That's fantastic. But the rest of everybody else works. And so what I'm saying is, as workers, we got the power to shut the machine down anytime. You stop pulling that lever, man. Stop pushing that button. You know what I mean? If we're going to stop pulling that lever and stop pushing that button, if you don't stop and listen to what we're saying, and then if you don't do what we say, we're just going to shut it off completely. How about that? See, that's terrifying. The most terrifying information you can get into in the alternative media is trying to bring people together. That's the shit that will get you killed. Bringing people together. Dropping the differences, man. Look for the similarities, not the differences. That's what I keep saying. Look for the similarities, not the differences. So it looks like people are finding similarities now. And the police unions is one of those places, I think, that, at this point is definitely, standing out. Rock and Rio, you looked at it, what unions today, just today, have come out and come out against this process that we're seeing here with the vaccine?
Well, over the past few days, Chicago's police union, Los Angeles police union, the SEIU, which is healthcare workers nationwide.
Yeah, and they got a lot of different things they do. So yeah, that's a big one. SEIU is big.
Yep, the New York Teachers Association union did push back against what's his name, De Blasio. There's a bunch of them.
Well, that's good.
They're standing up, and actually, I've heard that the dock workers in California are one of the unions that are standing up too.
Well, that'd be good. I hope they do. And now we have the Teamsters. I know they were doing trucking, but as far as that goes, I don't know if the truckers today are as unionized as they have been in the past, or if loading docks are still Teamster loading docks. And I don't know how this works anymore. Go ahead.
From what I understand, because Newsom tried to put that mandate into effect, one of the reasons we're having supply issue problems is that the truckers are refusing to go to California to move freight because they're opposing the mandate. So what's going to have to happen is these companies are going to either have to ship to go down around through the Panama Canal and come up through Texas to get their stuff picked up, or it's going to sit there. Because the dock workers and the truck drivers are saying, no, we're not having this. So there could be some supply issues because of that. But it's good that people are standing up and, at least making their voices heard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I couldn't agree with you more, man. Listen, we're right up on it. My name's Jimmy. We'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
It's Aftermath FM.
Open your eyes, let it begin with me. Brand new day, fresh new way to live the morning.
Monday through Friday, right here at 10:30 Pacific, immediately following Clyde Lewis at Ground Zero. You'll find us.
Of vaccine mandates are a flashpoint for officers faced with rolling up their sleeves or losing their jobs. Seattle's police force planning for an October 18th deadline with hundreds still unvaccinated.
Please look yourself in the mirror and ask, are you doing the right thing by removing people who are willing to continue to serve this community?
The backup plan for Seattle PD if they lose significant staffing is to use all on-duty sworn personnel, from detectives to training employees, on foot patrol, responding to 911 calls if needed. And it's not just police unions bristling. In Los Angeles, the sheriff is outright rejecting a county order to vaccinate his force. The deadline was October 1st.
Issues become so politicized, there are entire groups of employees that are willing to be fired and laid off rather than get vaccinated.
Other high-profile conflicts include Tucson, Arizona, where the city now faces a lawsuit from the police union.
We have the legal duty and the legal obligation to provide and maintain a safe and healthy workplace for its employees.
And New York City, as Mayor Bill de Blasio eyes a mandate for police and other agencies despite strong opposition from the union.
The broad point, the courts have said it is our right as employers to do this in the context of a global pandemic.
The urgency comes as more men and women in blue are dying from COVID. Recent funerals in Florida and Alabama highlighting a staggering trend. According to the Fraternal Order of Police, more than 700 officers have died from COVID-19 since the start of the pandemic, making it not only a public health crisis, but a public safety crisis, too.
Information about a noon deadline to the city to respond to our latest correspondence. As many of you can guess, the city ignored that 12 o'clock deadline, didn't even respond. Go to hell. Shouldn't be a surprise. The reality is the city acknowledged from the beginning their obligation to bargain in good faith over this subject. They have refused. And because they have refused and put a line in the sand and said it's take it or leave it pretty much, that's why we're at where we're at.
Come take this bitch off of me. I won't wear it anymore. It's getting too dark to see, and I feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door.
This Aftermath FM. That's that's the Grateful Dead. Bob Weir's got those high 80s shorts on in the show, and his hair's cut short. He must have been going through a phase. I saw him marching around on stage giving orders too. I never really liked Bob Weir too much. I don't like his tone. It's too cutting. And the cutting tone of the resident and chief and him and his mandates that aren't laws, and people are losing their jobs. I saw 43,000 New Yorkers lost their jobs. Rio, is that the number that's being thrown around over there?
Yeah, it's that's what about the same as what I've heard too.
All right, well, let's go around the panel here, man. Let's find out what everybody's thinking about right now as far as coming together and what's going on with these unions, because this may be our moment. Because let's face it, these union there used to be a training video, union training video, and there was some people in there from the East Coast, and one guy was like, "Hey, we're the unions. We do the jobs that yous don't want to do." And when you think about when you think about the unions, I mean, there's a lot of union workers that do jobs that you don't want to do. Sanitation workers, garbage pickers, all this different stuff. They're getting paid some money, man, but you're not getting that money for free. You know what I'm saying? So what do you guys think? Now, go ahead, Bruce, and then throw it to we have Mike's Squared tonight. So we have Michael in Texas, and then we have Mike from Conspiracy Zone too. So it's the battle of the mics. So go ahead, Bruce, and then pass it on over to Mike.
We're talking about labor, and we're talking about how it might change the world. I mean, labor is everything. Without labor, there's no office to do your work in. I think now. This is self-effacing because I've made my living at a desk, right? Like, I'm a desk jockey. I'm a high-tech guy. But, going back to last night's show, and if those of you on the table tonight didn't listen, we did this fascinating show about the end of the Cold War and the fall of the Berlin Wall, and Lech Walesa, who was a labor leader in Poland. On our side of the world, in the West, the first thing we started doing after the Cold War was over was stabbing the unions in the back by, this is what free trade was all about, to get out of all the legal concessions that they had made with labor unions through the Cold War. Because they didn't want to attack labor unions during the Cold War because they thought that, it might incite a communist movement in America or just to say, hey, look, we're a capitalist system, but we treat labor really, really well over here, so we're not insensitive to labor.
Well, plus they were all the union shops were the ones doing all the heavy lifting on all the stuff, everything that was being done, because all government contracts have to be done by union people, because it's a union government's a union shop, so they have to hire union contractors. And so what you're saying there is exactly right. Because we were in the middle of needing those workers, and they didn't want to do anything to mess with that. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah. So I mean, we screwed labor over, and labor are the people who actually work, folks. You got to pick up a hammer or some kind of tool to be a laborer, right? Isn't the Canadian Union of Public Employees, a reference that only Canadian Mike will get here. But you're absolutely right, Jimmy. What they did was they strengthened the public sector unions, but the private sector unions that actually do the work, and you're treated like a dog. The wage is good and everything, but I don't know. It's nowhere near what it should be. Nothing gets done without labor, and the control of productivity is what creates the elite classes. And I would say the professional classes now, titled people, and the modern titling is not related to aristocracy, it's related to academic pedigree or corporate position, right?
Well, everybody's quality of life can go up, though. Even those people that were in these other type of jobs, like the ones you're talking about there, when you're on a salary, okay, you're making the same amount of money every 2 weeks, no matter what. Even if your boss tells you to stay there 12 hours a day, and you get the stink eye and you get the shitty projects unless you go there and brown nose. See, you wouldn't have to do that. See, that's the thing is that you guys could all get together. So you know what? F you, man. I don't want to work 12 hours a day. I want to work 8 hours a day because that's what I signed on for. And for my 2 weeks, I'll work 8 hours a day, and then I can go home to my family and be able to spend time with my family so I can have a quality of life. But you got no quality of life because you heard it there. He said earlier, man, hey, the streets are paved with gold in America. But, hey, you get $1 a day. Come on over. We're going to talk. I'm going to play some chunks out of this video here, this movie about the labor movement in America. Because, see, people seem to forget. We did the same thing. We looked exactly like China when China was starting out and doing and getting going, just 20 years ago, really in earnest, and all the stuff that was going on there. America looked just like that at a period of time. We had child laborers. They had millions of people were out of work because they wouldn't hire a man for $1 a day when they could get a kid for 10 cents a day. Literally. All right. Go ahead and jump in and then pass the talking stick over to the mics. The mic squared. All right, one of you mics jump in here. Michael from Texas. Are you a union man? Have you ever been in the union? Have you ever worked in the trades? Have you ever been involved in any kind of unions at all?
I got a film degree, and I started working for Panavision before I graduated, and I worked for another production company. But I never learned what work was until I worked with the LA Grip and Electricians Union. I mean, those guys were just, they just worked like a motherfucker. I mean, the first time probably they'd ever been to Arkansas, we were shooting this film, and these guys were just running circles around us Texas guys. It was kind of embarrassing, but it was also eye-opening,
Yeah.
I mean, these guys the union guys that I've ever worked around have been nothing but prideful in their job and, hardest ass workers I've ever seen in my life.
Highly trained. You get all the training, you get all the safety training, you get all the safety gear, you have everything you're supposed to need to do your thing. And it's a gilding service. In other words, you learn from a craftsman who's skilled in the trade, and you're brought along, and they teach you the trade because what they teach you is represented in the work that you do from that point forward. So it's the passing of the torch to the younger people from an older, more experienced person is something that really, works well and for mentoring someone through the training of some sort of craft-like or craftsman type position, or even really anything. I mean, this is what an initiation ceremony is. The same thing. It's a brotherhood, just like the brotherhoods that we talk about, the secret societies. Being in a union is a brotherhood. I mean, there's brothers and sisters in the union, but I'm saying it's it's like that. I mean, it's like that, obviously. Mike, Conspiracy Zone. What about you? Unions? I know you were a baker. Were you in the bakers union, or were you in a union, or what do you think about them?
Yeah, I was in a union when I was a baker. I spent 10 years in a union called RWDSU, which is a retail warehouse workers union.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at a retail grocery store as a baker there,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked there for 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we were unionized. In Canada, the only way to get decent pay as a baker is basically to be in a union shop.
Well, so let me ask
if
you.
you're not in a union shop, you're getting minimum wage.
Yeah, so let me ask you, in relation to your union wage, what is a guy who's doing the same exact thing as you, but he's not in the union, what does he got to do? What is for his money? He's got to work all these hours. He doesn't get over. What happens to him? How much does he make in relation to you hourly? Is it half of what you make?
Roughly half, yeah. Yeah. Right now, minimum wage here in Saskatchewan is $11.72 an hour, and just before I had my contract bought out and I quit the baking industry,
Mm-hmm.
I was making $23.50 an hour. So yeah, it was basically I make double of what most regular bakers would make.
Wow. Well, see there, and let's just say, and the $23 an hour that you were making, that isn't a lot of money. I mean, for example, I tried to get to it last night. So for a $20 an hour guy, all right, and you're a single guy, you don't have a wife yet, you're just a single guy, they're going to take 33 and a third of your paycheck. So that means you making $800 a week. It means you're bringing home $500 a week in America. How much taxes do they take out of you over there? Is it about the same?
Yeah, it's about the same. I think it's around 35% for my tax bracket.
All right, well, so there it is. So so basically they're saying, hey, live on $500 a week, because I mean, if you're making 20 and you're making 20, that's good money for people. Not good money, but I'm just saying, compared to everybody else, it's great money.
Yeah, well, for me, like in the city I'm living in, cost of living isn't as expensive as it is in some other parts of Canada. Like Saskatchewan has a fairly low cost of living, like for rents and things like that. Hey, so the $23 an hour I was making is enough for me to like be able to pay my rent, cover my expenses, and still have just a little bit of money left over at the end of the month that I could stick into a savings account.
Mm-hmm. All right.
You know, plus the union pension thing too, like you said, like when I got my pension transferred over to my private fund, I got like just about $25,000 for 10 years worth of work.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, you know, there's a whole list of things that if you're part of an elitist type family, if you're in that bracket, you get a whole different schooling than everybody else gets, like us over here. So there's a whole bunch of things that you get taught in that family that working people don't get taught. They're just not taught it. It's, you know, how to manage money, how to invest things, you know, how to set yourself up for the future.
Jimmy, you don't think Hunter Biden ever bad groceries?
No, I don't think so.
For crack? No.
No, I don't think so. But I'll tell you that I'm just saying that when you look at these, there's nothing wrong with you being a grocery bagger, if you ever were. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Not at all.
But
I did it.
But right. But the point is that the people on this elitist side of this line, their kids don't bag groceries. Their kids don't learn how to serve you a drink or hand you some coffee or pull a plate up from underneath you after you're done eating it. We're trained to service these people, man. And I tell you, you know, it was never more obvious to me, and until this point, I never really noticed it before either. But when I was up in Aspen, I lived in a town called Glenwood Springs. Okay, so the Glenwood Springs it's called, if you live in Aspen, Glenwood Springs is called Down Valley. Okay, so but what I noticed in this Glenwood Springs area was that most of the people that lived in Glenwood Springs, they lived to service the people in Aspen. So every single person in that town was getting their money from Aspen. Okay, so if you're a mechanic, you're making your money off this guy fixing this guy who's renting an apartment. He fixing his car. The guy renting the apartment, he works in Aspen. See, so he's paying you with money that came from Aspen. So just about everything is coming from servicing. And so you can see the main division in society in the way that this looks too, because when you're down valley, that's where the apartments and stuff are. Okay, apartment buildings, this and that. But there's a midpoint, right? And that's where all the middle managers live, in those, you know, semi nice houses compared to Aspen. So it's an interesting pecking order that there seems to be, and there seems to be a certain level of people that would be considered common stock. And then there's preferred stock. See? And so if you're common stock, man, you're going to get a paper route. You're going to learn how to bag groceries. You're going to be a waiter or waitress. You're going to do all these little things and learn how to serve people and make your money serving others. That's how you make your money. And there's nothing wrong with being of service, but in the sense that we're all in a service industry that relies on us all having extra money to buy those services. All of a sudden, we don't have that money anymore. All of a sudden, we're scraping to make ends meet because the inflation is too high for us to buy the stuff we used to buy. Now there's no way we can buy the organic shit. Man, we got to go down and we got to go to Walmart and buy that stuff, that cheap stuff, because that's the only way we can survive. And so there we are again. I mean, hey, why not just throw the GMOs out and experiment on the people? Just throw them put that ingredient there in that box, Nobody's going to know the difference, and then if people get sick, hey, they go to the hospital, because we have a, for-profit medical system. Everything's for profit. It's all made on the back of the people. Where's our props? Look back at who built this country. It was immigrants. It's people coming here because they believed in the American dream. Just like all those people that are coming up from the South, they still believe in the American dream. And I say, if there's enough suckers that believe in the American dream and they come across the border, well, more taxes are going to come in and they'll be able to fund Social Security a little bit longer, this type of thing. But ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, something's got to change. And we're going to do it one step at a time. 10:30 Pacific, right here, Monday through Friday. We're going to take it to the streets. It's Aftermath FM.
You don't know me, but I'm your brother. I was raised here in this living hell. You don't know my kind in your world. Fairly soon, the time will tell. You telling me the things you're gonna do for me. I ain't blind and I don't like what I think I see. Taking it to the street. Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
My name's Jimmy. Extendovite is a great product, and I really appreciate Don supporting the show, and I hope that you'll take a chance and see what you can find out about the Extendovite. I know it helps quite a few people. Make sure you check in with your doctor before you add any new ingredients to your daily regimen. My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. We're talking about coming together. We're talking about labor. It's us and them, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, it's a hot one. Like 7
It's Aftermath FM.
midday sun. Well, I hear you whispering the words, melt everyone, but you stay so cool. My Mona Lisa, my Spanish Harlem Mona Lisa. You're my reason for reason. The step in my groove. And if you said this life ain't good enough, I
golden America, half dream and half nightmare.
When I die, don't bury me at all. Hang me up on the spool room wall. Place a bobbin in my hand so I can keep on working in the promised land. I got the blues, I got the blues, I got the Winsboro cotton mill blues. I got the blues, I got the blues, I got the Winsboro cotton mill blues. Lordy, Lordy, schooling's hard. You know and I know, don't have to tell. You work for Tom Watson, gotta work like hell.
Two million children in the mills and the mines. 6 million grown-ups unemployed.
Why hire a man for $1 when you can hire a kid for $10?
I was taught in my youth that it was the height of vulgarity to discuss money.
A professor in Chicago came up with a few statistics.
An American family cannot adequately survive on less than $900 a year. The average working man earns about $400.
When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. But what force on earth is weaker than...
So there we go. So this is in 1900s. This is 120 years ago in America. Why hire a man for $1 when you can get a kid for $10, Bruce? It's America, man. Land of the free, home of the brave, man. The streets are paved with gold, man. Come on down. Enjoy. Come on down. Millionaires, they grow on trees. Crickets. Am I here alone?
I think Bruce got
it's
lost.
just no. We're waiting to be cued, man. It's a very obedient co-hosting experience.
Well, I mean, I just thought I didn't know because I thought maybe for a second, you never know with Skype. I thought maybe.
Well, now you know, motherfucker.
Okay, well there
Now
you go. So, man for $1, child for $10. I mean, if
well, as I've been listening to you, a thought just went through my head, and it's the kind of thing an 8-year-old would figure out, but most of the shit we have to police ourselves for is just common sense. Like when you look at England in the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the Dickensian period, the abuses that went on with child labor and everything. I mean, what were they thinking? What in the fuck were they thinking? It's just, you just look at someone's eyes, you know whether they're happy or not, you know whether they can do what they're doing or not, right? So it's just absolutely bloody ridiculous, man. And if people were just fair and just, if people could just live by let's say the 10 Commandments, not to endorse any one religion over another, but if people could just live that way, do you realize how much infrastructure would be off our backs? Do you realize that probably 90 cents out of every tax dollar we pay goes to some way to police us because we're just such a shitty species, we can't get our shit together? Amazing when you think about it.
It is amazing. And what's even more amazing is that everything is based on profit. I mean, everybody's got to make a profit. Nobody's happy with just what they need to be available. Everybody's got to have more and more. Everybody needs profit, and it doesn't matter all the way down the line. And we do it to each other too. You know what I mean? It's like I buy something for this amount of money. I sell it to you for that amount of money. It's like you could buy that thing by yourself and eliminate the middleman. Everything in this construct has a middleman component to it that makes everything cost more. Doesn't it? So it costs more. So if it costs more, then they got to charge more. So they charge more, but they don't pay us more. So the thing is like that's how it should be. It's like it costs more, so we have to charge more. And so then we say as people, well, stuff costs more, So you're going to have to pay us more. You'll have to make less. No.
Yeah.
Don't ever talk about that. No. We don't want to hear about that part. See, we don't want to hear about the part where we have to make less. See, what you have to do is learn how to survive better. Tell you what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We used to base the cost of living on steak and potatoes. So tell you what we're going to do. Just so we can fuck you out of your cost of living increases, we're going to change that steak to hamburger and never tell. We're never going to tell you. And
you're gonna
run,
like it.
And you're
you're gonna like it. I promise.
That's right. That's right. So that's why the cost of living hasn't increased at all since for a bit. But anyways, it's just like last night. When you hear about this old Soviet Union and how the government had price controls. In other words, they made sure that your milk only cost, X amount. It won't go any higher. But if it does go higher, it's because the government said so. But the government said so, but the government is part of you. You're the people, and it all belongs to you. So you don't have a problem with the government raising the prices on food because you know that there's a higher cost coming out of your resources, and you're part of the whole collective, right? Yeah, right. No matter how you look at it, the working people are always on the short end of the stick for some reason, and it should be completely the opposite. That craftsmen and tradesmen and people that are doing the work should be valued a lot more than they are. It shouldn't even be a question. It shouldn't. You know what? In my opinion, personally, if I was going to design a society, I would put people in a golden bracket. When you got to a certain age, you're golden then. You don't have to do anything anymore. You get your money. Everything's taken care of because of what you put in. You devoted your whole life to your thing that you did to make this country better, to make this country great. My grandmother worked on the cables that went across the ocean for Western Electric during, the wars, on the assembly line. You know what I mean? So everybody put a piece into the pie. We all have an investment. Sweat equity is what we're talking about. And then as these people that built it died off, there's really nobody left that has the sweat equity in the good old USA. There's really no fundamental driving force behind the population anymore. There's a million people with a million different directions. Everybody's going in a million directions. And the last thing that can happen is we're running in a million directions and everybody's fighting. So we're divided and we're split up. And that's the key to this whole thing. Is everybody just saying, no, F you, man, including the police. I'm glad the police are stepping up on this thing because they go out there and they put their life on the line every single day. Every day. So I respect them for doing this, and I respect that union, for doing that, and I hope that they follow through with it. I wouldn't, if I were you and I lived in Chicago, though, I would definitely go on vacation. Because, just on a daily basis, the amount of people that get shot in Chicago is almost like a war zone as it is. And so just can only imagine when 50% less police force is there on Monday or over the weekend. I'm assuming this is going to be like the Wild Wild West over there. It's going to be like the movie The Purge. What do you guys think about that? Everybody said defund the police and everything. How much you want to bet everybody be begging for the police to come back in about 5 minutes after midnight tonight? They said midnight tonight, going in Thursday to Friday, that's when that was going to expire. So we'll see what happens over there over the weekend. What do you guys think about that, though?
Are you talking about Missouri City and
No, I'm talking about Chicago.
Illinois? Yeah, in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Missouri City, Illinois, where the entire police force quit at once.
Well, I don't know.
Well, no.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about.
50% of the Chicago police force walked off the job.
Okay, yeah, that was after,
Yeah,
but in Missouri City, Illinois, the entire fucking police force, including the chief on down, everybody walked out. This is about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a month.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Well,
and this is
I
how
don't know. A lot of people are going to get shot in mix-ups, man. I mean, it's just, yeah, I'm terribly preoccupied with the future of the United States, man. I mean, you just don't know what's going to there. It's just so unstable now. It's unbelievable.
Well, it is unstable, and it is because the very fabric of our society has been torn asunder. So everything that was the baseline for us to build off of is now in question. Nothing is as we perceive it to be anymore. Our statues have been torn down. Our sports have been ruined. I mean, they've literally torn down every single monument to the past that could possibly have anything to do with individuality, this whole idea of what America used to be. These old models, John Wayne, he's living on Brokeback Mountain, man. Superman's gay. Batman's gay too. I mean, that should have been known from the beginning. I mean, come on, Batman, got a young guy, Robin over there. Come on, man. So look, and 007 is what? Is female now. You guys were talking about that earlier. So I mean, this whole everything is 180 degrees out from the way it used to be, and you're supposed to be okay with that. Is everybody okay with things being 180 degrees out the way it used to be? What's bad is good. This is a topsy-turvy situation. So I mean, how can anybody even get a grasp on reality? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? A lot of people are saying, fuck this. 4.3 million people quit their jobs last month. They've never seen that high of a resignation rate ever. 4.3 million people quit their jobs.
Yeah. Mind-boggling, man. And I don't know who said it at the beginning of the show. I think maybe it was Rio, but there's still tens of thousands of people showing up at the Texas-Arizona borders. The American myth is going to take a long time to go away, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys have been putting it out there for 75 years in Hollywood and everything, man. You have no idea how transfixing that is for the rest of the world. So I'll give you an example. I had a conversation about a month and a half ago with my stepson, and he was actually talking about going to the United States, like paying some dude $6,000 in Nicaragua, getting into the States and working for a year or two. And he's happily coupled with a woman and everything, but he's got huge child support, man. He's got 6 children by 3 women, and he needs to make more money, right? And I had to sit down with him for 2 hours and explain what it would be like, and the possibility of returning with vast sums of money were slim to none unless he ate instant noodles every day and slept on a floor with 8 other guys and just worked 7 days a week, right? Because as soon as you get into living there, all your money is going to be spent just living there, eating in restaurants, getting coffees, paying your rent and everything.
Right.
It's really amazing as you travel the world like I have done, and you live in different parts of the world. It's really kind of amazing how economies form and how prices get formed for things. It's really quite a spectacular process, right? And everybody seems to think it's better on the other side all the time. Everybody's got these fantasies in their head, right? Like, I want to go live there. I want to, in my case, I was actually right. It's much better here. But for me, for my particular temperament, my particular psychology, my particular spirituality, living in the wilderness and the rainforest is perfectly suited to me. But that mythology of the United States is not going anywhere, man. It's going to persist for years to come. And, all the immigrants, they want to go. I think even London's not that big a ideal anymore for people. The Indians love London. Funny thing about the Indians, right? When I was over there in 2012 for a month, 2011, 2012, over Christmas and New Year's with my son, everybody I had a chance to talk to at length, I had a dentist do a root canal on me, and he just went on for 3 hours about what the British did and It's really a big topic over there, how much the Indians, the British stole in terms of resources from India and everything. But you know what the highest status symbol in India is? Speaking English with a British accent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's mind-boggling, you know?
Yeah, it's not
Wherever you are, wherever you are is the place to be. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there, right? The rest is just people who can actually leave and go and live somewhere else are few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
About 40% of the people who come to Costa Rica to live return to where they came from in about 4 to 6 years. They can't adjust. They don't have the malleability in their person,
Well, the
right?
thing, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I'm sure you get to some point in your life when you look back and you just realize everything you did was a bunch of bullshit. Didn't mean anything. It's just things that you did. You know, it's just things that you did. You ended up here. You were there. All the things that you thought mattered, like, just the whole system that we live in. There's a set of things that matter, and they're made to matter to us, and then we don't have any idea about what's going on outside the filter bubble that we live in called America, because everybody here thought we were living free. Nobody realized we weren't free until we started looking at it. And then you start noticing this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing, and all of a sudden you're looking at the whole structure going, wait a minute, this whole thing is set up for me to be basically a working slave for the rest of my life. Let me have 70% of my imaginary dollars back to buy shit from you at prices that I can't afford, like the company store model. I keep mentioning the company store. We're going to probably have to get into it some because in case people forgot what that's about. Like Gary, Indiana, for example. Gary, Indiana. Look at the town of Gary, Indiana right now. I mean, that is the epitome and example of a company town. Gary, Indiana.
The dirtiest city in the country, believe it or not.
I believe it because of
the smog and the factories.
Mm-hmm. That's where the steel was, right? Yep. And they had steel workers there. They built the whole town around that function, steel. And maybe we'll get a little bit into that. We got about let me see here. We got about an hour and some odd 15 minutes left. So why don't you guys jump in here, and I'm gonna grab a couple chunks of stuff here I got lined up for us. But why don't you guys jump in for a minute here? And so now, Mike and Bruce, you guys are in Canada. So Canada is somewhat socialistic, isn't it? It's socialistic in the sense that there's medicine and different kind of aspects of socialism there. But you haven't gone into full-blown communism over these years that you've had these socialistic aspects to your construct. Do you guys feel that Canada is communistic, or do you feel that socialism and the social aspect of society and being taken care of is something that we got to do as being responsible humans? We got to take care of each other. So what do you guys feel about?
Mike.
What do you guys feel about that? Yeah, I want to ask you guys because, I mean, Americans have a certain idea about anything that's socialism. So what do you guys feel about it? How do you guys feel living there?
Well, I live in Costa Rica, first off.
Well, I know that, but you've lived in Canada, man. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, see, that's the thing where I'm kind of torn with like Canada, because I do agree with a lot of the social aspects that we do have, like the universal healthcare thing. It's a good idea, but I'm of the mindset myself. I don't use the healthcare system that much. Like I'm a fairly healthy person. I try to take care of myself. I eat healthy, get exercise, things like that. I figure that I should be able to choose how I want to access my healthcare. Like if I want to pay for it or whatever, I think I should be able to choose that. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed to do that, other than like say my dentist and eye doctor and prescriptions. The rest of it, though, like if I like say I wanted to like shop around for a doctor or even just get something like an MRI at a private place, it's almost impossible to do here. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Fun fact. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like the people who need it, I'm all for it. I'm all for like funding it, helping those people out. Like that's what my taxes are for, right? Is to help the less fortunate out. And being from Saskatchewan, like it's basically the birthplace of universal healthcare in Canada. And at the time that the push was made for that here, it was a fairly communist society, mostly because of the agrarianism of it, hey? And there's the political party that brought in the universal healthcare thing, the CCF. Yeah, it was like they were big with the union, stuff like that. So there's that aspect of it as well for the socialism here in Canada. It's like without it, we wouldn't have the union movement that we had that brought the strength to the labor movement.
So fun fact, Jimmy and Mike from Texas and Rio, the Americans on the call. Do you know who brought in the socialized medical system into Canada? I know you probably know, Canadian Mike, but do you guys know? You're going to fucking crack up when you hear this.
I do not know.
A guy named Tommy Douglas, and he was the grandfather of Kiefer Sutherland, the guy from the 24 TV series.
Yeah.
Yeah, his grandfather brought it in. And so, look, it is a good system. But look, it's no different than socialized medicine. Like, I mean, if you get gunshot and you get brought to the hospital in an ambulance, they're going to fix you up, right? They're not going to throw you to the street. So you know, in a sense, you do have some form of community medicine, right? I did happen to see Michael Moore's documentary on the medical system. I forget what it was called in the United States, and you know, he found the worst possible stories he could. Some guy working on a table saw cut off 2 fingers. He only had enough money to put one on, and the doctors wouldn't put the other on. I mean, that's just completely fucking draconian, man. Probably take the doctor 30 minutes to sew that finger on, right? We have a lot of the same problems in our socialized medicine, except it doesn't come out of pocket. It goes through our taxes, right? Like the hospitals need to be massively regulated. And again, I mean, this is why I think that society proper is going to fail. Because it never really worked, and we're getting to a critical mass now. And I know that's an outrageous thing to say out loud on live radio, but it doesn't really work. I mean, we're about 4 layers deep in terms of cops policing cops now. You realize that, right? There's internal affairs who polices the cops. In Canada, there's another force that polices them. Then the provincial police come in and police them, and then the RCMP come in and police them. And the RCMP are the most corrupt fucking police force in the whole country, right? It's just mind-boggling, right? Again, the problem is human nature, and I think human beings are better off in a natural setting, and they behave in a more human way. And you throw people into cities, and they're in a constant state of temptation, usually the lower chakras. I won't be any more vulgar than that. And you know, they're constantly looking to get money to satisfy those needs, and everybody just turns into a cutthroat, man. Everybody. I mean, you can't even do business anymore. You know, it's just ridiculous. And the corporations are the worst now, the way they market things, the way they write their contracts. I mean, try and break a contract off of some app you downloaded off of Google Play or the Apple Store sometime, okay? Like I use a voice over IP thing. They give you absolutely no data to contact them to cancel the service. Like, it's mind-boggling. You got to go through Apple, and then Apple sends you an email back saying, well, we just allow you to download blah, 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 blah. Well, what do you mean? The bills are coming through you, not through the company I bought the app off of, you know?
Well,
it's just a shit show, man. And it's gotten worse. You know, like you guys ever seen a Barry Levinson film called Tin Men with Danny DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss?
Great movie.
Yes.
Okay, everybody's Tin Men now. Everybody, including government workers. Everybody lies to that same degree now, right? We're a lost people, man. We're a lost people. I know these are bold words, but I live with extremely honest people now. It's impossible to live in nature and not be honest. Doesn't mean that people won't steal some small thing from you every once in a while. And that does happen on the mountain, right? But generally, no. I mean, if you need something, it just is what it is. Like, hey, man, I need 40 Manu posts. I want to redo my balcony. Manu is a hardwood here that, man, it lasts for 200 years. It's like,
in this world, man, in the world, nothing moves until something's sold. Period. Nothing moves until something's sold. So hold on. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, where things really started getting completely shit out of control, is now the business model. It's not enough to make a profit, right? It's not even enough to make an obscene profit. The idea now is that every year, if you don't make 20 to 30% more than you made the previous year, then you file that as a fucking loss now to the government and get paid back for it. I mean, it's just it's fucking ridiculous, and that's what we've had now for 40, 50 years at least.
Yeah. But the working man, the working man don't get squat though, right? When you spend your money, that's it. You lose.
Exactly.
You
that
lose
was my
your
point.
money.
What you were talking about earlier about, hey, we're going to charge more for this product. Oh, well, you need to pay us more. No, no, that ain't how it works.
So, look, it's not even real capitalism. We shouldn't even call it capitalism now. We should call it a controlled and regulated free market and a punitive free market. Okay. Anybody on this call ever read the book Globalization's Discontents by Joseph Stiglitz, one of the former?
I'm familiar with Stiglitz, but no, I didn't read that book.
Well, it's a brilliant book. It came out in 2004. He was a World Bank executive, I think, like a vice president or something. And there've been a few World Bank whistleblowers, but none as effective as Stiglitz. He had this line in the book, I shit you not, it has haunted me for 16 years. Okay? Here's what he explained in one paragraph in the book. And it's so simple when you think about it. Why has no fucking economist... I realize I'm swearing a lot tonight, but I like the liberty of cursing on Aftermath. And yeah, I do. And so, look, he said, capitalism will generally erode and fail over time if the knowledge between the buyer and the seller, that knowledge gap is too big. For capitalism to work, the buyer and the seller must have the same level of knowledge. Okay? Okay, well, do you know how to take a car engine apart and put it back together? I don't.
No.
I do. You know? Yeah. Oh, well, I'll
Rio,
find something
yeah, Rio does.
I'll find some. Yeah, I know. You can make. I'm looking for someone to restore my 1992 Suzuki Samurai over here, but
anyway,
good luck.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to run a society this way, and what's worse is that the government, through its statutes and regulations, they seem to be deliberately creating a larger gap in knowledge between the government and the governed. And they do it deliberately with all these voodoo idioms and these sub-languages like legalese, medicalese, accounting language, and everything you got to do for yourself has got to be done by some specialist now. I mean,
There's a reason they call it spelling.
Yes.
Using language at all, spelling. Think of that word, spelling. I mean, you're producing magic every time you use your tongue. More or less.
Abracadabra. Yeah, abracadabra.
Open
so,
sesame.
like, this horrible proliferation of knowledge and equity is really not only was Stiglitz right in what he wrote, he didn't extend it to the model of the government and the governed. That's me doing that, but it's the same principle, right? And they're going out of their way. Do you know what you're putting in your body when you jab that needle in your arm? You don't have a clue. You can watch some YouTube videos, see some parasites, some graphene, some twisty black stuff that seems to be alive, but you don't have a clue. And everybody's bought and sold now. Everybody who thought it would be so easy to control people, all you had to do was give them a semi-decent salary and a pension.
Well,
and that's it. They would murder people for that pension.
What you brought up about the education of the population is really poignant, and it reminded me of Socrates, and Socrates hated democracy, right? And he hated it. He said, Socrates pointed that voting in an election is a skill, not random intuition. And like any skill, it needs to be taught systematically to people. Letting the citizenry vote without an education is as irresponsible as putting them in charge of sailing to the islands in a storm. So the thing is the more and more of the population that gets stupefied and mesmerized by seductive characters and agreement realities and echo chambers, we get to a point where everybody's at each other's throats. I mean, we all have individual wants and needs, but the world can't accommodate 10 billion different people's wants and needs all at the same time. Everybody can't have special status all at the same time. We all have to say, we got to come to this, like, we have to get to at least a level of some sort of stasis where everything's okay up until this point, and then beyond that is where you got to start looking at what you're doing. But other than that, we got to have this basis that we're all living under. And I think, we're just taking a look at this system in America that's called capitalism, which, all it really looks to me like is we're just the crop of slaves on the land that are here to buy products that are fed to us by this mechanism. It's almost exactly like THX 1138, where you just have to consume. You have to consume in order to keep this machine running. Why is, at what point do you need more money? At the level of the companies that we see at the top of everything, this BlackRock or whatever it is. Like, look at these companies like this. At what point, why do they keep needing more and more money? Why do they have to keep needing to sell more and more stuff? They're the only ones with that money. There's nobody else. Well, they already have all the money. Well, how much more money do they need? When is what we're doing right now become unnecessary to the people that are selling stuff to us to make profit? When did they decide, I don't need any more profit? Close it down, man. Close it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Everything gets shut down. Nobody knows how to do anything anymore. Nobody knows how to provide for themselves because everybody trades money for the things that they used to have to know to do before to survive. So if you're living in an urban situation, you don't go out and, take something off the land to eat, this type of thing. You pay somebody to do all that for you so you can go down and pick up a piece of plastic styrofoam with meat in it. And you pay somebody to do all that shit you used to have to do. But all of a sudden, if you have to find yourself in a situation where those mechanisms that you found in social structure are no longer there, and you're in an urban environment, and no longer can you trade money for the things that you used to do to survive, how will you survive? Do you have those skills? Are those skills taught to us? Some of the best information you can actually get is to go back and look at people who survived through the Depression and the stories they told on how they survived. For example, my family on the East Coast, they kept pigeons in the backyard. And that's why you see so many pigeons on the East Coast, why there's so many, is because back in the day, when times were hard, they kept pigeons out in the back. And, it's like squab. It's like a Cornish game hen. So they were easy to keep, easy to kill, easy to eat. You grow some vegetables, you got pigeons. You can still do this today, is why I'm mentioning it. But the thing is all of these things...
Squirrels, too.
Go ahead.
I was going to say squirrels, too.
Yeah, squirrels, but every idiot with a 22 is going to kill every squirrel anywhere within 100 miles of New York City. You won't find a squirrel, a deer, anything. Immediately if something happened, everything would be gone. There would be
Oh,
no.
not New York, yeah, but I'm in Texas, so I ain't got nothing to worry about there.
No. Plenty of hogs out there. Wild hogs.
Yeah, javelina, wild hogs, everything. Yeah, we got it all.
So there you go. Mom's Jimmy's in the microcosm. It is midnight on the West Coast or thereabouts, and we are talking about, coming together as a people and saying no. We've had enough of that. We don't want you testing gas on us. Clyde brought it up earlier. I wasn't going to bring it up necessarily, but, they're going to spray gas on people in New York City, Rhea. Hey, if you see some gas coming out of the subway, hey, don't worry about it. It's just us. We're just.
Yeah, and what are they spraying? What exactly are they spraying? That's kind of a good question.
I have no idea what they're spraying.
I guess it's supposed to be some kind of sterilization
Well, see,
or something.
you know what they used to do? They used to do is remember light bulbs back in the day? If you look at the bottom of a light bulb, you see cork in there. There's a cork.
Mhm.
They used to take a syringe and fill the syringe full of germs and squeeze it into that cork, into the light bulb. And then they had hire some dude to go on the back of the train in the subway as he's going down, and they toss it out at a certain location, let it break on the tracks, and watch how that shit spread around New York City. That's true. They did that. So,
yep. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
There was like a proper name for that whole experiment, like it was an operation.
Right. It was so
I can't remember what it was.
doesn't
though.
it like ever cross anybody's mind? How come they can just experiment on us like we're just rats in a fucking cage, man? It's Universe 25, man. The show we did a few weeks ago, Universe 25, the rat experiment. And we're in the extinction phase, man. Because this cannot continue, and who knows? Maybe it won't.
Well, maybe this.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be. Ankles swell late in the day. Chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're a big cops. Really funny. Really funny. What do you mean I'm funny? It's funny, it's a good story. It's funny. You're a funny guy. What do you mean? You mean the way I talk? What? It's just, you're just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how? What?
Just, you're funny.
You mean, let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little fucked up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you? I make you laugh? I'm here to fucking amuse you? What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
No, just, how you tell the story. What?
No, I don't know. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me. Tell me what's funny.
Get the fuck out of here.
When he's around, anything can happen, and usually does.
But be nice. Help this gentleman to the door. Until it's time to not be nice.
So says the fighting philosopher.
FM.
My heart is black and my lips are cold. Cities are blamed with rock and roll. 3,000 guitars, they seem to cry. My ears will melt and then my eyes. Let the girl rock and roll. Cities are blamed now with rock and roll.
A near riot on the Sunset Strip today as fans of Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Van Halen.
Van Halen. Gathered at the Whiskey to celebrate the anniversary of the band's first appearance. That was 15 years ago.
200 tickets for the taking, 3,000 fans ready to take. Police say that added up to a near riot on Sunset Boulevard outside the Whiskey A-Go-Go.
Nobody wants any trouble. I think everyone's just excited, not hostile.
Squished, I got squashed, but yeah!
Even if we don't get tickets, it's still going to be something to remember.
All right, so now comes my favorite part of the show. It's my favorite part of the whole evening. We've been on tour since March, and I have no better time anytime than right now, because I get to go sit down, have myself a nice cold one, and listen to the greatest rock and roll guitar player in the world, Mr. Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie just lit a cigarette. He's blowing smoke rings. He's sitting on the front of the stage. Soft Mouth FM.
expression lasts for long. Won't you tell me where have all the good times gone? Where have all the good times gone? Where have all the good times gone? Once we had an
Aftermath FM, Monday through Friday, 10:30 Pacific, right here. You'll find us in the microcosm, immediately following Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero. And immediately preceding Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero, you'll find Billy Ray Valentine in the Infinite Fringe. And today we had John Brisson, also the Haterossi. Check out all the archives from today. Man, there were some smoking shows. Mr. Gates' show today was off the hook, literally. Great show. Absolutely fantastic. And it's our pleasure to be a part of the lineup here. Great lineup. David Knight, 6 a.m. Then you can find the replay of In the Microcosm at 9 a.m. We've got Leo Zagami, like I said. We've got Billy Ray Valentine. John Brisson's here. On the weekend, Kev Baker Extra. You can find on Saturday. And there's a whole really host of great shows over the weekend. $79 a year. Step on in, become a supporter of what we have going on over here. It's like a private club, so anything we do behind that wall of freedom is ours to do, and nobody has anything to say about it. No censorship, social media, all kinds of great stuff going on there. Interact with Clyde Lewis, interact with all the other great hosts. Mike, I mean, I know I'm missing some people. James Ponder has another show. We got a new show, Paradigm Shift, I think, is with Joe.
With JP just after the Kev Baker Extra show.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that show. That guy's got mad energy, and he's just super passionate about what he's doing, and he's super happy to be part of the Aftermath family. I highly recommend him. He is an awesome podcast.
Yeah, and we're going to see if we can get him on to join us here on In the Microcosm and introduce you guys to him. And we'll try to do that as soon as possible. So we're talking about labor today, and we're talking about being the ones that are really, taking all the everything is really on our backs, is it not? I mean, are we not carrying the weight of the world on our backs? And America specifically, just for this nonstop rat wheel that we're on, this company store model that we've been talking about. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead there, Rio.
No, I was gonna say here. Let me jump into the company store real quick. Let's just get in. Let's magnify this and get it into focus here.
A company store is a retail store selling a limited range of food, clothing, and daily necessities to employees of a company. It is typical of a company town in a remote area where virtually everyone is employed by one firm, such as a coal mine. In a company town, the housing is owned by the company, but there may be independent stores there or nearby. The store typically accepts scrip or non-cash vouchers issued by the company in advance of weekly cash paychecks, and gives credit to employees before payday. Except in very remote areas, company stores became scarcer after the miners bought automobiles and could travel to a range of stores. Even so, the stores could survive because they provided convenience and easy credit. Company stores have had a reputation as monopolistic institutions, funneling workers' incomes back to the owners of the company. Company stores often face little or no competition, and prices were therefore uncompetitive. Allowing purchases on credit enforced a kind of debt slavery, obligating employees to remain with the company until the debt was cleared. Regarding this reputation, economic historian Price versus Fishback wrote that the company store is one of the most reviled and misunderstood of economic institutions. In song, folktale, and union rhetoric, the company store was often cast as a villain, a collector of souls through perpetual debt peonage. Nicknames, like the Pluck Me and more obscene versions that cannot appear in a family newspaper, seem to point to exploitation. The attitudes carry over into the scholarly literature, which emphasizes that the company store was a monopoly. The song's fishback mentions include the popular folk song 16 Tons, which includes such lines as St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Company stores existed elsewhere than the United States, in particular in the early 1900s in Mexico. Textile workers at the largest cotton mill were paid in scrip. In 1907, workers attacked and looted the Rio Blanco, Veracruz Textile Company's store. The workers were gunned down by the Mexican military, but in the aftermath of the violence, more retail outlets were opened in Rio Blanco. The stores served numerous functions, such as a locus for the government post office,
People say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bones. A mind that's weak and a back that's strong. You load 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
It's the company store.
I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. I loaded 6.
Yep, you got born and you picked up your shovel and you walked to the mine. That's right. You think elitist kids go out in the backyard with shovels and dig holes? Or you think they just got people to do that kind of shit, like landscapers and stuff?
Yeah, the latter.
Hey, Bobby, go out and back and dig me a hole. Hey, you guys, I shit you not, man. This is no joke. I was doing this rollout project for Home Depot, and I was going across the western United States to different Home Depots and replacing their store computers and doing this whole thing. And so it was me, a guy that I brought with me who was working, with me, and then there was this other guy. The other guy, believe this or not, was the son of one of the owners of Coach, like Coach bags, leather products, Coach, super high end. This kid was rich, man. And somehow he ended up, getting a job. And so he was like a technician. And we're out on the road. I shit you guys not. This guy had never in his life done his own laundry. He had never, he didn't know how to take his laundry down to the laundromat and do his own laundry because his whole life he had servants to do it for him. He'd just throw his laundry in a pile in his room, and magically it would just appear all folded and nice in his closet. And he
I wish I had that problem.
Yeah, I know. Well, see, that's just I'm just saying, there's a distinct difference in how people are raised and how they're going to end up. Wouldn't you say? If everybody was on an even keel, everybody got the same start and the same opportunity, would things turn out the same for everybody? I mean, are some people smarter than others? Are there some people that just no way that you could ever be an elite in the elite class because you don't have what it takes to be there because you're mentally incapable? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything about those people's brains that makes them any more viable as a candidate for anything.
Jimmy, I have a little funny quip about that attitude, right? That they're smarter than us because they make more money and that kind of thing. The kind of stuff I work on is high end and expensive,
Right.
and of course we get a lot of people that have tons of money, and one day one guy was standing there and he was being insulting, guys that do this kind of work couldn't possibly own a car like this, so I don't know how they know how to fix it. And I looked at the guy and I said, well, if you're so smart, then fix it yourself. And he had nothing to say to that.
No, there's nothing you can say because that is the bottom line. And the bottom line is if you don't know how to do it, then somebody else does. And the system that we have here, because you know how to do that, you can charge money for it. And you can start your own little business. How much business could you do and how much money would you need to make? You know what I mean? At some point, would you say, from just a personal standpoint, everybody on this panel, would you say that if you started a business and you got to a certain amount of money, would that be enough? Would you be able to have enough and say, that's it? I don't need any more. I have everything. I own my house. I don't have any payments. I have to pay taxes on this house, but I got enough money in the bank to pay these taxes on this house for the rest of my life. So,
well, isn't it the problem that we all have though, that it's just a little bit more and I'd be happy. Just a little bit more, no matter how much it is, just a little bit more, right?
yeah, or I'll be happy when this happens, or I'll be happy when I make that amount of money, and I'll be happy when this happens. And so, like, you suspend your daily happiness for the happiness you're going to have someday when the conditions are right. But see,
Yeah, and if everybody just appreciated what they had and was happy at this point, you know, I mean, obviously there are some people who really could use a little bit more than what they get, but you know, if you live within your means and you know work at getting to some point, when you achieve that point, then you know you can be happy, you can enjoy.
Well, yeah, this isn't it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's true. That is true.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, it's excellent topic. So, for my money, the thing most important in a human being's life is a mature understanding of what real wealth is, and that comes by a personal assessment and asking yourself, you know, what is the most valuable thing in your life? I'll tell you right now, and you may not agree immediately, but if you think about it for a while, you will. It's time. You only get so many breaths and so many heartbeats. What do you want to do with your life? You want to be running around worried about bills all the time? Or do you want to work 3 or 4 hours a day and have a really good life with really good water, really good food, and the time to do what you want to do, man? I mean, I'm 55 years old. You know what I do 3 hours an afternoon now? I'm listening to a, 35-hour audiobook on Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. I mean, how many people get to do that? It's an absolutely brilliant book. Everybody should read it before they die. It's like maybe 2 notches below the Bible in terms of importance. Captures a period in Russian history where they were at a kind of spiritual peak in terms of what I'll call peasant living. But peasant living in Eastern Europe was absolutely beautiful. Beautiful homes, beautiful food, beautiful families, everything. But it's what you want to do with your life, right? And you're not even going to be able to ask that question unless you get a little bit of time to think. And the way they've ratcheted up the Western system now, and it's even worse in China. I mean, you have about 5 years of childhood in China. For those of you who don't know, I lived in Taiwan from 92 to 94. The moment you turn 6, man, the average 10-year-old in Taiwan in 1993 had a work week similar to a Wall Street investor. 80 hours. They go to school, then they go to cram schools. Their parents pay for extra tutoring at night, right? Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and sometimes they do all 5 nights, right? So this kid is studying from 8 o'clock, and school over there is 8 to 4. And then they go home, they eat dinner, and then they go to the cram school at 6:30. And that's where all the foreigners work, teaching English and various things and stuff like this. They have cram schools for math, everything. And on the weekends, they work with their parents. There's no running in the fields or going down to the creek with your friends. Yet you really have to go and see the world and understand what's going on out there, right? And they all want this magnificent picture that Hollywood's been projecting for 75 years.
Bingo.
And they want it in a way we wanted it in 1915.
Well,
we're not hungry. This is about the West. We're not hungry anymore.
No.
We've become fat, complacent, and self-indulgent.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because how do you know what you're missing? Like, for example, if you're living in a corrugated tin shack near the ocean with your family, you don't have very much, but you have enough. You're happy, and your family's happy, and there's smiles at your dinner table, and your family's happy. You're poor in relation, from a money standpoint, as far as the rest of the world is concerned. But as far as you're concerned, you're just in your thing. until you
the
know,
word is
hang on,
content.
until you know that there's something different that you don't have, right? Until you all of a sudden, somebody throws the TV away, and that same family, they get that TV and they bring it in their house, Rio. And all of a sudden, they get the antenna and they move it around, and all of a sudden, they see this TV show pop on there, and they start seeing all this stuff that they didn't even know existed. They didn't even know they could have it. And now they feel unhappy. They feel unworthy. They feel like where they live, they feel poor. They feel like they don't have stuff. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's kind of it. You know, like when you're not in that position, right? You have contentment. Not everybody is worried about having, to own a Ferrari. And most people who own them don't own them because they really love them. They just own them to impress their friends. You know, there's if you're content with the way your life is, then that's a good thing. And it doesn't really matter what level it's at, monetarily. It's about the family and what you're living and how you're thinking and how you feel about it. I mean, one of the cheapest things you can do is go sit on a beach and enjoy the sunset, right? And it's a beautiful experience.
Well, wouldn't you
So
say?
why can't everybody be happy with that?
Well, people could.
Some
be
people
happy.
are never be happy with that.
Well, some people could be happy, but the thing is that, like we talked about earlier, is that when you're living in an urban environment, you're relying on your money to afford you your happiness. So, and happiness has been superimposed over pleasure. So we're looking for happiness, but we're in a constant seeking of pleasure, which is the consumer engine. That's what's, just like you just got done saying. He don't like his Ferrari. He just buys it to impress other people. In other words, do you buy a Rolex watch so that other people see your watch and go, man, that dude's got a Rolex? Or do you buy a Rolex watch because they're one of the best watches made in the world, and you like, when you look down at your arm and you see what time it is, you like to see that Rolex on your arm? Because most of the time what people do and what people consume the most products in is trying to impress other people to make them think something about you. When the bottom line is, when people are real, they don't show you anything. In other words, if you really know anybody who's got a lot of money, okay, they don't run around trying to show other people they have money.
No,
they
run around in T-shirt and jeans looking like everybody else.
That's right. There's people.
A friend of mine in Detroit had a phrase for that. She called it ghetto fabulous.
Well, the thing is, if you're somebody that's out there and you're trying to look like you have money, if you're in a crowd of people that have money and you're there, they know you don't have anything. Because they can tell. Because the thing is you're showing them, it's show and tell. You know what I mean? You're showing them something that's, you're just perpetrating. This dude told me a long time ago, he goes, listen, a guy can have a bunch of different suits and, this and that. He said, but most of the time, they got one pair of shoes. So he said, if you want to know something about somebody, you meet them for the first time. He said, look down at their shoes. That'll tell you everything. And, he's been right in my life. I've been it's just something to notice. But, how much of what we consider to be the monikers of success are really just things that have been marketed to us in order, they're carrots and sticks, It's carrots and sticks. So most of society is carrots. Leading us around, making us do what we need to do in order to keep this thing moving, to keep the economy going. The thing is, though, our freedoms have been put down to not being able to have these happiness or these pleasure seeking without money. So if you're not going to pay us enough money, then all we can do is merely survive and exist on this, subsistent income on high food prices. So we're struggling just to make the basics. We don't have anything extra to do any of those extra nice things. So a lot of us have jobs working at the places that people go when they have extra money. So everybody is now in a situation where we're waiting for the other guy that's got the money to show up so we can make some money. And what happens when that guy doesn't show up? That guy doesn't show up, and all of a sudden the amusement park closes. No more roller coaster rides for anybody. All of a sudden the movie theater closes, the art gallery, all these places, different places close, and everybody's all of a sudden out of work. And then are we back to the why hire a man when you can hire a kid for 10 cents? Because I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, we are, because even the McDonald's around here now is paying $15 an hour, and opened it up to 14-year-olds because they can't find anybody to work for them.
Go ahead, you guys, jump in on that.
Well, here's the other thing I see coming with that too. Speaking earlier of the migrants that are trying to get into the United States and stuff, it's happening in Australia already. They're starting to bring in Filipinos and Chinese because the construction workers over there are refusing to get the poke, and the construction industry is tanking. They need workers, so they're bringing in foreign nationals. We already have something like that happening here in Canada, and especially in the fast food and other service industries, where we're bringing in temporary foreign workers to cover the shortfalls that we have in our labor the shortfalls we have in our labor here.
Do they have proof of vaccination? And if they don't, I'm sure that if they said, "Hey, if you want to come to America, all you got to do is show me proof of vaccination," how many people would jump right in that line to get that vaccination worldwide?
Tons of them.
Come here. That's right.
Yeah, except that's something we don't check at the border here.
They are in Australia, and the people that they're bringing in, it's an incentive for especially like the Filipinos to get their vaccines. And the Philippines is one of the most highly vaxxed nations over in that area of the world. So it's like for them, it's like, oh, hey, right on. We can get these great paying jobs over in Australia. We have our vaccinations. No problem. We're going over there, and they're bringing them in by the boatload.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure they'll pay for them to get there, too. By the boatload. Here's an empty cruise ship. Get on here, and we'll put you over there real quick. So, yeah, see, this is exactly how they go about breaking the unions, right? Unions stand up. Unions say, fuck you. And they go, no, fuck you.
No, we'll just hire a kid for $10 an hour instead of paying you $25.
No, they don't say fuck you. They go, I fuck you, I fuck you, and then they just bring in the foreign construction teams. You know, I've seen Chinese construction companies put up a 10-story high-rise in 90 days, start to finish, because it's all modular. Everything's already the pieces are fit together. Go ahead.
I think you meant 19 days. I know the project you're talking
19
about. They
days.
got that building.
Yeah,
so, not 90, 19 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and so you got
that,
these. Go
that
ahead.
would take 4 years here in New York.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when you look at the American experience, a lot of the genius and a lot of the culture was formed when it was uninstitutionalized, and they left an area that was highly institutionalized, which was Europe. And the institutions back then were monarchy and the bureaucracy of monarchy, and the land taxes and the unavailability of land, because they'd already reached a population stage where all land was owned, right? And then when nothing is free anymore, then, you know, as the population increases, price continues to go up. So these people, everybody came to America, Canada, and well, Australia they got sent to, but that's another story. Let's stay with America and Canada. And all of the genius of this culture emerged out of an unstructured state. And you know, we're so worried about preserving knowledge all the time. Like, look at the university system and, you know, and all of the systems of thinking we've been given. But all of those systems of thinking, all of those sciences were begun by lone renegades, right? They you know, look at Abraham Lincoln. The guy taught himself how to read. So what's happened in the Western experience now is we've been crippled by institutions and bureaucracy. And this is what happens to every mature society, is it begins to develop this infrastructure in which the main purpose is economy for professionals, okay? If you just followed simple common law and people were responsible for what they did, do you think anybody would short the cement content on a high rise, put in too much sand to, a corrupt contractor. That shit goes on all the time in China. But, the only reason corruption isn't completely out of control in China is when you go too far, they just kill you, man. Right?
Well, let me ask you.
But in America now, there's no opportunity. Bill Maher did this incredible recurring bit on his show. Now, I know Maher he's kind of all over the place. I don't know if he's really turned on the left since Trump got out of office. I like Real Time with Bill Maher. It's one of my favorite, but I love to hate him, is really the truth of it. But he had this great bit. He was keeping his audience up to date with what was going on getting solar panels and a little shed built in his backyard in Los Angeles. It took 3 years, man. 3 fucking years. It was like 100 square feet. And he just kept doing jokes about it, How can anything get done in a society like that? Like, how can anything get done at all? Right? And the people who most deserve to be punished, nothing happens to them. The people of the United States should own BP Oil now, not the Queen of England, after what she did in the Gulf of Mexico, her company. You should lose all your shit when you do something that heinous. Right?
That shit still hasn't stopped leaking, by the way.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is that where we are as a society, I don't think that it's possible for us to even conceive of a system that doesn't involve what we see here. Because no matter how you look at it, what you thought was good might not have really been any different from what you thought was bad. Except they told you that other thing was bad. But had they not told you that was bad, you might not have thought it was bad. But they said that was bad, look at it. And that's what they said about us over there, too. Our enemies said the same exact thing about us. So, and it depended on where you were, depends on, but everybody's sitting over the top of that whole thing. They don't care. It doesn't make any difference to them. It's all the same. Because no matter what, if it's capitalism or over there like we looked at last night, it's communism. Either way, it's a control mechanism, still controlling humanity. How could humanity even survive or conceive of a system that doesn't involve what we have? Because we don't have anything else to base it off of. There's nothing, like I'm saying, we have about 15 minutes left. I'll just throw it to you guys from an imagination standpoint. So you can just imagine anything in the world, any kind of a system. Is it even possible to imagine something that doesn't have somebody that's in charge of it? Because, I mean, at the point where it gets to everybody having their individual wants and needs and wanting them to be met and screaming and yelling until they get their needs met, and if all of us do it, we're not all singing the same song. You know how much different it would be if we were all chanting the same note or we were all singing the same song instead of us all screaming for our individual needs to be met against each other? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, all you'd have to do really is go and look at the native peoples that are still living a natural life on this earth.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still there. There's still societies where, they live in tribal cultures. I went to Africa. It was beautiful. These people live in the shit that we throw away, and they're unbelievably happy because they haven't been corrupted by capitalism, consumerism. I'm not completely downing capitalism completely. Yeah, it's a fallacious system like every other system that's been set in place.
Well, at the point, let's say we all decided we didn't want to be consumers anymore. We decide, hey, no more consumerism. The thing is what would most of us do at that point for a living? If we weren't making widgets to sell, what is there to do?
Growing our own food, getting our own potable water, going back and getting in touch with the earth and getting in touch with each other instead of being, people talk about transhumanism on a physical level all the time. And I had this conversation with Clyde Lewis and he agreed. I had this thought one day. I said, Clyde, they've already succeeded in transhumanism on a spiritual and intellectual level. People care more about their goddamn machines than they do about the person standing or sitting next to them now.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hyper reality is much more comfortable in 2021 than living in the real world. Man, because if I can go and immerse myself into a game or immerse myself into a virtual reality where I don't have to be or do or experience anything that I have to go through in my normal life, that I could go in there and jump in that Ferrari or whatever in my virtual reality. I think people will want to disappear into that virtual reality because unless you have the means to survive, you're merely existing. And at the point that all you do is exist and you look around yourself and go, so what is the point of my life? To merely sit here and exist and function on some low level in society because that's the only job I can get because now I don't have the papers to move freely and, be about doing something for myself. So, I mean, we're finding ourselves in a tough situation. I don't know what to do. I mean, even in the tribal situations that you were just speaking of, even there's a leader. Okay? There's somebody who's the chief. There's somebody who's the head. There's somebody that's making decisions, ultimately. And so how does that person get to be in that position? Because everybody else looks at each other and goes, yeah, man, Bob is definitely the leader because he can kick everyone's ass, and plus he's smart too. Bob really knows what's going on. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, you know what? I can speak to that question with direct experience because the leadership of the Kabakar tribe here has absolutely fascinated me. I've had many conversations with my wife about it, like how they structure themselves. It's all natural selection, man. They all know who the natural leader is, and they support it. Right? But you're dealing with a population of about 300 people, right? Living in a rugged wilderness situation with no electricity, rainforest. And then there's natural ability. So the person who's going to become the shaman, that person will be recognized by the generational shaman who's spiritually leading the tribe at a very young age, like before 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then begin training, right? And then everybody else. But power is, in those circumstances, power and leadership is loving. It's not domineering and controlling because everybody's on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard to understand that if you don't work that field for 4 hours on a Monday morning, you're not going to eat on Friday. Everybody gets it, But when you throw money and condominiums and big cities into the mix, everything gets abstracted. Like everybody thinks they're getting screwed. Why does he have so much or she have so much and I have so little? And Aboriginal peoples or original peoples, they don't think that way. This is entrained thinking. It's been entrained in us over generations as we live in this North American experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Programming.
What you said earlier, Jimmy, about conspicuous consumption like the Rolexes and all that. What do you really need in life? I'm down to about 3 tank tops and 2 pairs of shorts, and plastic flip-flops I paid $8 for. And the only time I throw on a pair of jeans and a collared shirt and some boots and a belt is to go to town twice a month. I don't need any more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, she always wants to buy clothes. I say, well, what for? We live up here with your family. Like, what? We hardly ever go to town. Like, what do you need all these new clothes for? It's just programming, right? She sees the stuff on her phone and all of this sort of stuff, but she doesn't, but it's nice to live with people who aren't preoccupied with money all the time, right? And when you live in a society, like I said earlier in this show, I mean, a handful of people even have bank accounts up here, right? So when you live in a society that can function without money, you get a very controlled sociological experiment to study the effects of money. Money is pure evil. It's pure evil, man. Like if I put $200 in somebody's hand up here, we won't see them for 4 days. It'll be a drinking binge and they'll go to the brothels,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they can't think of anything better to do with the money. Even if their roof is falling apart on their shack.
Pleasure seeking and right away. So I mean, money is good for certain things. Pleasure
Well,
seeking.
like you're saying earlier about escapism, that's what people use a lot of their money for, is any type of escapism they can from the system they're stuck in. Here, at least.
Yeah, they save up for what? Do you save up the entire year so you can take your 2-week vacation to Disneyland or something, right? So you can go live the fantasy life for a week.
And blow all your money, and there it is in Disney. And then there's Disney program. Then there's Disney programming your kid on TV.
And they're programming you to come back for more, to do more shit with them and spend more money on them.
I'm going to say something now that you guys really need to hear this, okay? And think long and hard about it. You got to like where you are now, because in the near future, there's going to be no mobility, okay? Now, it's not going to last forever, but, let's ask Rio. What's it like to live in New York now? What's it like to live in what was ostensibly one of the most magnificent cities in the Western world in the 2 years of COVID? Nobody goes. How much fun is it to live in an apartment like 24 hours a day?
Well, I haven't been into the city in a while, but the city's an absolute dump right now.
Yeah, I hear so many stories about New York, and a mass exodus as well, right?
Well, I heard.
It's highly vacant. Like you can. There's no crowd in Times Square in the middle of the day. People are evacuating essentially.
Let me ask you this now.
Nobody can afford it. I mean, if you ain't got a job, how are you going to spend $3,000 a month on a 10 by 10 apartment?
I heard that that the outdoor tents they were using to feed people, because they had to be outside, those things have turned into garbage dumps. They're all full,
pretty
they're
much.
full of garbage now. Is that true?
Some of them are, yeah. So that was the whole weirdness, right? Yeah, everybody had to eat outside. So now these people are like building like temporary shacks on the sidewalk, but they're framing them with wood, and they're enclosing them in plastic, and they're putting roofs on them so the diners don't get wet when it rains. Isn't that essentially like being indoors? Doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose of being out in the open air?
Except for
But now all the sidewalks are all cluttered with all these things because you can't have people inside the building. And there's just garbage all around them.
You know what?
It's a real mess.
We're on the
1 + 1 is 3.
We're on the history tip this week, so you know what? Tomorrow night, let's take a look at Hoovervilles. Because listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a not too distant future. I mean, they're saying that just like the company store, it's like nobody owns houses on the company store. Everybody rents. And listen,
I think it's even more odious than that, Jimmy. I think they want to get to the economy to chargeable units at their smallest quantity. So I mean, it'll come down to a certain fee to travel 100 meters in an automobile.
Yeah, and it'll be rental tubes.
You'll be charged for the internet from the moment you log on and start using it.
Well, they're already pushing toward that, Bruce, with the electric cars, right? Because they can't get highway tax from fuel use. Like the truck drivers pay their highway tax through what they fuel purchase. So if they're not purchasing fuel, they're going to have to charge per mile. So when the electric cars come in, one of the new systems in the computers and the electronic reporting is how many miles you've driven, and there's going to be a tax on that.
Yeah. So, you know what one of the reasons is for the massive supply chain kerfuffle we're in right now? A vast majority of the truckers are not getting the vaccine, and that's what they're not telling you. It's not about dock workers as well. There's nobody to unload the boats, and there's no trucks to take the stuff out. So this is, and the thing we need to remember is there's nothing accidental about this. Everything that's going on, we don't have a choice about the Great Reset. They're going to force it on us, but it's going to be a big wake up for people. People are going to finally understand that we never should have allowed institutions to govern us to this degree. America is not America anymore. If you were to go back in a time machine and grab up the people from the Boston Revolution and bring them to 2021, they'd never stop vomiting, right? This just isn't America anymore.
No,
it's something else. It morphed into something really ugly.
Right, and I mean I wanted to get more into that documentary because there's a whole front end of that thing talking about the immigrants, and it's like actual immigrants talking. There was a documentary that was made back then. These are people talking about coming here and what dreams they had and what they thought and what they were, the idea of America that propagated around the world, and then it was all done via the television. It's all done via these things that look at America. We transported our social engineering mechanism around the world. I mean, even possible to make people think something about you that's not true. It's to the point where, I mean, they just caught India yesterday. India was using a scene from Bollywood around some incident that happened. So they caught him doing the same thing that we do here in the West, where they just use some footage and tell a story, and it's not even true. Go ahead. We only got a couple minutes left.
Well, I was going to ask, has anybody seen the video that was floating around? You can't find it now. It's been scrubbed. But it was Vietnamese police at night knocking on a house and dragging this lady out in the street and vaxing her against her wall.
No, I hadn't seen that. But
I've talked to about 4 or 5 people in my circle that have seen it, and none of us can find it, and all of us are extremely tech savvy.
Yeah, wow. Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Another Into the Microcosm. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you all. Bruce Macdonald, thanks for being here. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike, from Conspirazone. You over there, bro? Still?
I'm still here, yeah.
Yeah, great contributions, too, about what's going on up in Canada and just the overall situation. Really appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of your show, bro.
It's live every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Pacific time. Me and Ron have a variety of different guests and stuff every week. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So tune in Sundays at 10 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, that Deborah Travaris show, man. Wow.
Yeah,
I can't sleep after I listen to her.
I
can't
know.
sleep.
I know.
Oh, man, I was up all night that night afterwards. It was like, because, like, she brought into account a lot of the stuff about water, and man, it's scary what they have planned for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, smoke them if you got them, and if you ain't got them, you hit rock bottom. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you're not alone. You're not alone, man, and don't give up. Aftermath FM. See you tomorrow night.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, night, guys.
There we go. All right. So what's up, everybody? So we still got 30 people over here in the chat room. You guys want to hang out a bit? What's up with everybody?
Sure.
We can stay live for a bit if you want. It's up to you guys. Bruce, Rock and Rio, Mike's, Mike's.
Bruce is already vaporized.
Bruce exited stage right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are you guys doing? You guys want to hang out for a bit? If you do, that's cool. I just need to run over next door here and make myself some coffee. So let me know what you want to do. If not,
well, I mean, it's up to everyone else. I'm good if everyone else is.
What about you
guys? I can go either way. So.
All right. Well, what do you do?
Same here. I just need to go run for a quick dart and
I'm
good to go.
Here.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. I'll play something that won't get me no hassles. Hold on a second.
BRB bio, eh?
Yeah. Hang on a second. All right, so I'll be right back. Stand by, everybody. We'll be right back. Just gotta make some coffee real quick. 3 minutes. King Weed. Yeah, they rock. They got a bunch of records too. You can check them out. King Weed. Just type in King Weed. Let there be weed. How you guys doing? You guys back?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, cool. I'm making coffee now, so it should be ready in about 30 seconds, so I'll just let you guys jump in here. So be careful. Don't get my YouTube channel stricken out. Don't say.
We'll try to be nice.
All right, good. Is Rock and Rio still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. So you guys got it, eh? I'm throwing the comms over to you while I bust out and go grab my coffee.
Cool.
I'll be back.
I'd like to go back a little bit to like when we were talking about the more tribal aspect of life and stuff.
Yeah.
I have a little theory on why the native population, especially in North America, was wiped out. See, a lot of the people who came to explore and settle here in North America in the beginning were like second and third son nobility, hey? So they came over here, seeing the free people living, doing their thing without the whole like hardcore rulership like they had over in Europe. And like so they sent that back over to Europe, said, hey, like there's like this more free style of living over here. We should like take care of this before we start bringing the rest of the population over to work so that they don't get any ideas kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure that's where the genocide came from. Is it not so much that they wanted just to take the land. They didn't want the Europeans to realize they didn't need a king to tell them how to live.
Absolutely, yeah. They didn't want the natives influencing the Europeans' way of life.
Exactly.
The controlled way of life that they were used to living.
Yeah, that's brilliant, actually. I never considered that as an aspect of what was going on. You know, I figured it was just they were coming in to, take over, dominate and take over. But
brilliant.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, you look at how like I said, it was like second and third sons of European nobility that were exploring the place, hey, and like I'm sure they would have let their noble families know that like, hey man, like there's something going on over here. We can't let the rest know, but we need these people over here because there's so many resources that these people aren't tapping that we need to get our hands on, but we can't let the workers find out about this. Because like the tribal leadership and stuff was basically the leadership was mostly like to organize the hunts, organize the gathering of like food and stuff, and basically to get the defenses organized when there was like an outside threat, like another tribe or whatever coming around. It was a loose leadership, like everybody followed, like we were saying earlier.
It was a true democracy. I mean, not only did we steal everything else from the Native Americans, but we also stole the idea of democracy. I mean, they were one of the first people groups to have a democracy the way they did, the different nations, and the way that they kept peace with each other for who knows how long.
Oh, exactly.
And many of them too were also matriarchal societies. And
yes,
yeah,
yes,
especially the eastern part of Canada and the U.S. The very matriarchal in their societies. The Plains natives here, they're more they were more of a warrior style of tribes, and they were more male dominated. But yeah, like the Micmac, Iroquois, they were mostly matrilineal in their leadership. Like it still had male chiefs, but it was usually the stronger female leaders were the ones who would put forth the male chiefs kind of thing, right?
Yeah, they were the wise old women, right? They were the wisdom of the tribe.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's another thing that they probably didn't want the European males learning either, is that hey, women can be treated equally and fairly within our societies, because like a lot of the times that even like the Plains tribes, they still had like an equal sharing of the work. Like they sure they did have like gender specific roles, but everybody contributed to make the whole work together, hey? And that's kind of like where communism wanted to go, but the way that the European government system is set up, we couldn't go with that. Like, we can't have communism on that large of a scale. Smaller tribal scales, yeah, it could work, but large national scales, no, I don't think it's possible, because you start bringing in too many people, too many cooks spoil the broth, man, and that's like corruption starts to run rampant, because like you got to grease the wheels with this guy, and then this guy's got to grease the wheels. So like next thing you know, everybody's scratching each other's backs, and you got this whole crony corrupt nepotism going on, even within like supposed communist systems, right? Like look at Russia. Russia was rife with that. And when communism finally fell, who were the people that benefited from it all? The same people that were running the show to begin with, especially guys like Vladimir Putin.
Dude, I love it when people are like, "Oh yeah, no, Vladimir Putin, you know, he's not in the KGB." Dude, he was the fucking KGB.
Fuck yeah!
My like God, you know, he's like if you want to bring like a tulpa of John Wick to life, fucking that, there he is right there, fucking Putin. You know, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, well, except actually he's worse, because you know he fucking does it. He's just nefarious. So that fucking dude, he'd put isotopes in. In what, 10, 12 years ago?
Here's the thing, you know. What's interesting to me is from, you know, from where you sit and looking at it, we have this belief that there's propaganda, the government lies to us, all this, and we believe that all the way up until a certain point. They didn't lie to us about communism, though. They didn't lie to us about a system of governing that benefits the people. That's the thing. I'm not saying communism is good. I haven't lived under communism. I didn't live under the Soviet Union. But what I am saying is, when you look at it and you think of yourself down to the small towns and the, you know, communities, it would seem to me that it would work best if you were working together, you know, in that way, in the way that was kind of the hippies were trying to do. That type of thing.
Small scale communism.
Yeah, it works
totally
great.
Work.
It works great in a town of 300 people, but it doesn't work great in a nation of 3 million people.
Right.
Well,
but
it's also really never been truly practiced at its core on a large scale ever. Like what we've seen is not communism. It's more of like a version of some type of creepy totalitarianistic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What if it was
Stalinism? That's all we.
What if it was a bunch of 300? What if you say 300 people is the amount of people where everything's comfortable? So what if it's a bunch of circles that have 300 people in them, and each one of those circles is equal to so many, 300. So one person from that 300 is you know, the rep or whatever. See what I mean? It just I mean
that's we were just basically talking about that with how the native tribes coexisted here in North America before the Europeans came by, you know, and that's exactly what it was. Like there weren't many groups bigger than like 300 that stuck close together. They were usually part of a larger federation, and then those federations had another federation where they would like have trade, discuss where the hunting grounds for each individual group would be, and like they would send their representatives to these gatherings and meeting places. Like my city, just north of it, there's a thing called a medicine wheel, and that's what it was used for. It's like the different groups would all come together, send their representative here once a year kind of thing. They'd settle disputes, hash out differences, and set up the different boundaries and stuff for each individual group to go in and have their hunting and gathering areas.
And it was a council of chiefs, right?
Yeah.
And each group would be responsible for maintaining their own area. In other words, not over hunting it, planting in certain areas and rotating crops, this type of thing. So if everybody was, you know, responsible for their own area, those 300 people are out in that ever sector or whatever, how many acres they have, and they're cleaning it and taking care of it and making sure things, you know, and you know, I think it sounds like a system that could work.
Well, same here. I think it would be a great system to live under. It's just trying to convince people to do that, you know, because like people would actually have to contribute instead of being able to just sit around on their butts and collect off of what everybody else is doing, correct?
Yeah.
But the problem is, that might work in, upstate New York or, in the middle of Kansas, but it wouldn't work in Los Angeles or New York City.
Not. This doesn't work in cities, man. Cities are. The purpose of cities is no longer necessary. The whole reason cities happened was because they had a central location point where everybody went to build stuff, and the industrial sector and this and that.
Well, the point of the city now is to keep us trapped and to keep us separated from nature.
But that's what I mean. But
that's
yeah.
I mean, that's what they've done in Europe. I mean, nobody can afford. They made it where nobody can fucking afford to own land anymore.
Well,
much less to build a house on. And then they push everybody into these flats, all into one place where they can be monitored more easily. They can be controlled more easily. They can be manipulated and programmed more easily.
Cities aren't going to work in the future, though, because there's nothing to sustain. Everybody in a city is making money off everybody else. Nobody in the city is just sitting there. You can just be in that city and live off just being in the city. You have to do something in the city. In order to do it, somebody has to give you money. You're all working off of each other. And when like I keep saying, man, it's musical chairs, man. The music fucking stopped, man. People don't realize the music stopped now already. If you're where you are now is where you're gonna be from now on.
Yep.
And I mean, Bruce got off the phone quick, but I mean, his son's going over there to visit him and stuff. But he was just saying the other day that now in Costa Rica they have mandatory vaccinations. So this shit's going worldwide, man.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's going
everywhere.
Worldwide. Yeah, and so look,
I don't even know if you still can't leave your house in Sydney right now, right?
As far as I know,
still under full lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, arresting people smuggling KFC in New Zealand, like.
Yeah.
What's this world come to? You can't even go and get fast food in some places because it's out because of like a scary little germ. Like, man, I'd be more worried about getting the food poisoning from the fast food joint chicken than I would be from the illness that's going around.
I mean, I said this when it first started, and I meant it, man. I said, you know what everybody should do is everybody should just go out, take off their mask, and group hug everybody. Everybody hug everybody else, fucking get the thing over with. Let's get our immune systems going. And
chicken pox parties from when we were kids.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just saying, normally what you do when somebody's sick, you put them in quarantine. You don't quarantine the rest of the fucking world. So people that are sick can walk around. I mean, what the fuck?
And the whole lockdown in Sydney was for what? 9 cases?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
something like that.
It is crazy. All right, man. The time has come for all good men and women to find something else to do because I gotta go eat. I made coffee, but it's only gonna tide me over. My stomach's growling, man.
Yeah, it's getting to be snack time too.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have had my special tobacco when I went for my smoke.
Hey, do you think you could pin that bad boy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That
was a good one.
Oh yeah, I had a good time. That was fun. So Rock and Rio, once again, my friend, tomorrow night, is it going to be the Reverse Perverse Circus?
Oh, we will make an effort to have Reverse Perverse tomorrow.
There's got to be, there's shit.
And maybe we'll get some of this union stuff where the people are actually fighting back.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good. Ooh.
Yeah, like get that police captain from Chicago. I got that whole piece there. I can send you right now.
Yeah, that would actually be a really good one because if in reverse he's saying like screw these people, let's that'd be great because
that would be
and it was like one of the things that Kevin brought up a couple of weeks ago was everything I've found on all these politicians stuff is always negative. Let's try to find somebody who's positive and telling the truth and doing the right thing.
Well, I hope he's real, man. Go ahead.
I have a request for Reverse Perverse Circus. Lori Lightfoot is trying to make mutual combat in Chicago a thing, and I'd like to see some Reverse Perverse Circus on her speeches on that.
Yeah, I have.
All right, well,
I have
you
that
just,
video.
Drop a link if you got something you want me to do.
I had
drop
that
it in
video
Skype.
lined up for tonight. I just never got to it. So,
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff that's happening in Chicago, man. I couldn't believe that they're not charging people in a gang shootout and a stabbing. Even though they got like footage of these people, everything, cops showed up and like the guys were still having the shootout. One person died and everybody walked.
Yeah, well, they just here in New York, they just let a whole bunch of people out of Rikers Island. Anybody with a misdemeanor crime, if you possession or minor theft or robbery or
I
anything
heard the
like
prisoners.
that, you can all just go home. We're not going to bother
I heard
prosecuting.
the prisoners took
You remember
over.
what they were doing in Portland and was it New York, I think, when Antifa and BLM were basically making the cities into like a wasteland?
Yeah, they just didn't bother. Catch and release.
They would go into Walmart and buy those flare guns you can get. They have like 20 reloads, for like $30, and then they just drive by businesses and people's homes and shit and just shoot flares in to start fires.
Mm-hmm. All right, you guys, we're out of here. Thanks. We'll see you tomorrow night, eh?
See you guys.
All right.
Good night, guys.
Well, my baby, she don't want me around. She says she's tired of watching me fall down. She wants a good life and all the best, but I like that bottle better than the rest. And she said, I think that you're headed for a whole lot of trouble. Well, I think that you're headed for a whole lot of trouble. Well, I think that you're headed for a whole lot of trouble. If you take your whiskey. With that liquor in the nighttime leaves strange memories. Seems a lifetime since yesterday. Come the daybreak, come tomorrow. That woman's waited up all night for me again. Oh, she said, I think that you're headed for a whole lot of trouble. Yeah, I think that you're headed for a whole lot of trouble. Oh yeah, yeah, you know that you're headed for a lot of trouble.
Rock your body. Don't be so quick to walk away. She's thinking of you. Don't be so quick to walk away. We should do something. Don't be so quick to walk away. I like the way you look right now. Don't be so